Hey guys, Mark from Gunpla Network, bringing you my review of the high-grade Thunderbolt FA-78 Full Armor Gundam. Here you can see the kit in its bare bones form. Unlike the MG Ver car, you build it with the armor on, and it isn't too bad, just a couple of seam lines around the legs and arms, but the stickers and the verniers are a little heavy, so be prepared to put all of those on. The little black and red ones. Otherwise, the kit was really easy to assemble. I had great fun doing it. Okay, now here it is fully loaded up, minus the two shields which go on the front section with the sub-arms. I've left in the little sub-arm folded up pieces. They're meant to imitate that. So it's actually stable enough to stand on its own here, moving around on a base, and it's not even rocking, it's not going to fall over. So you can actually achieve some decent posing without the stand that they provide for it, which is really cool. Okay, now let's take a look at the accessories. So you get two large beam saber effect parts. You get the action base that they provide. Now it's just got a little peg style adapter which clips up underneath the Gundam. There's a hole there for it. Now you can use other action bases. If you get like an action base 4, 5 or 2, they'll all be about the same size. You have adapter pieces for that. This one though, you can kind of pull it off a little to the side and then rotate back and forth. Though if you go too far to one side, it falls over on the stand. Alright, kind of like the main piece accessories is the backpack. So you get the fuel tanks, verniers. It's molded in a white with a lot of detail. You get a beam cannon which moves up and down, and you get a missile pod which moves up and down. So the up and down, there's kind of like it does look like barrels inside, but I would replace those. You get some up and down rotation, but that's it. You get no side to side. And unfortunately the missile pod, unlike the beam cannon, doesn't have covers on top or bottom. It's just two pieces slapped together. Now those little folded up sub-arm pieces that mimic that are meant to mimic these pieces, which I'm showing you now. They just plug into a polycap which rotates around inside. I found that's a little frustrating to get in and out and had to use my hobby knife to reposition it constantly. But once it's in, they hold well, and yeah, it actually gives you a decent range of movement because the arms have some. Now the beam sabers, because I showed you two effect parts, don't go on the kit themselves, they actually go here on the sides of the backpack. So there's a beam saber, you get one either side, and I guess that's like a charging bay. And they just sit in the hand. So there's a good amount of detail on this backpack unit. It's kind of hard to see with the white on the camera, but yeah, it's really cool. It's got like the crinkled effect look to like some of the other parts of the kit. So there's the twin beam cannon that goes in the right hand. There's your right trigger finger locked in there. So that kind of locks onto the forearm and into the wrist to give you a really stable connection. It's unfortunately two pieces sandwiched together. I would drill out the actual ends of the cannons for more effect with a pin vise. But then you just take one of the shields, and as you can see I didn't sticker those. The shields are really cool though, you could paint them easily. It's just got a single polycap in there, and that's what goes on there. So you can rotate that around to give you some better cover, I guess. Alright, so on the, sorry that was the right arm, on the left arm you get the missile pod. Now it's meant to have stickers on those raised pieces for yellow lines, but once again I would paint that. There's your left hand trigger finger around the missile pod, and same deal as the right hand, you just put the shield around it. You get a little rotation there too. What you do get, you can actually get these, which is good because these are spare pieces if you're a builder. I wouldn't say you'd be using these with the actual kit, but you just take a shield, you plug it in there, and it can mount to the backs of the forearms. So if you didn't want the weapons, you could actually just have the shields. Though this thing doesn't come with any other rifles or anything, so yeah, you really, it's kind of like, I guess, just bonus pieces. It's not anything you're going to be using, so good for kit bashes. The sub-arms, so they've got a piece here that you can rotate on. Unfortunately, this is the letdown. They're kind of hollow. You can either fill that in with some putty or some pla plate. It's really weird. On one side, they gave you like a nice metal, like a cover look to it, and then they just left it hollow on the other. I don't get it. For the little extra plastic, it wouldn't have cost them anything. But once they're on, the grip at the end can grab the shield handles, which you insert. You can rotate around. You can go side to side, and then the peg that you slide into the backpack cover also has a rotation around. So with that double rotation, you can then, get some posing going with it. It's not just stuck in one piece. And here it is, I guess, in what you would call fortress mode. It's up in the air, and this is where you're going to be posing it for the most part, because they do provide you with this action base. You're probably going to want to use it. So the joints don't seem to sag at all. You can actually get him to hold up surprisingly the weapons and the shield aren't all that heavy. And it feels really stiff in the articulation, which we'll get to. I guess you just have to see over time whether they're going to sag or not. Alright, let's take a look at a little color accuracy and articulation. So in terms of the stickers, I've only used the eyes. That was all I've put on here so far, because it'll probably take me a year or two to get to it, but I'd like to give him just a couple of seam line fix up on the arms and legs, and then a paint job. And I have the Bandai water slides that you can get instead of the marking stickers that it comes with. There's nothing wrong with them, but obviously just over dark plastic they're going to show a lot. So I haven't used much, I've just used the eyes. And the eyes do reflect color accuracy of the show, like the gold look to the eyes, which is a bit different for a Gundam. It's usually red or green. So if we're going to talk about the articulation, you've got the head. It can go side to side, it can go back and forward for a decent amount for those flying poses, which is really cool, so you can look right up. I will say, in terms of proportions though, the head neck seems a little weird when staring at it compared to the body. If you're just looking overall, you won't notice. The shoulder can rotate down and upwards, and it will give you that extra bit of movement, so you can rotate just above, and if you move that shoulder piece up, then you pretty much just get stuck within line with the shoulders, so not too bad considering how bulky he is. He can also pull forward a little. The polycap comes out of the body, which will help get some awesome posing for the arms. You get the crinkled look plastic joints instead of the bag covers that you would get with the Vercars. You get a little cover on the back of the arm for the elbow. And then if you're going for the bend, you will get most of the way. Not a full double back on itself, but that's just, it's a slightly older kit. It can also, being on a peg, it can rotate around, and the wrists are a standard ball joint. Lift the arms up and look at the torso. There's no real side to side or back to front on the waist joint. It is on a ball joint. There's a cool looking cockpit cover, blue over the red. Not real lot there, but in rotation wise, because it's on a ball joint, it's pretty solid. It can just go the whole way around and nothing hits. Surprisingly for a full armor. And there's your ball joint there. And it's the same deal below. Side skirts will come off. They're just on a small peg, so if you try and push them too far, it's a ball into a really tiny peg, and that'll take a while to get back on. Front skirts, I've just done the clip in the middle, and you can then move them independently. The back skirt is locked in place. Those red covers are meant to be hiding a missile pod, but you get nothing being the HG. If you move the cover forward, the leg will go up, in line. And then if you move the knee cover out of the way, you can get slightly above and a really decent knee bend, which is going to help with those flying poses on an action base. The ankle will go back, and you've got the same crinkle cover there on the ankle. It's a bit stiff, but the ankle guard will move. And then you kind of got like a 2 polycap join for the leg to the ankle and the ankle to the foot, so you can get a little bit of movement there. It will go a decent way back, but that solid back skirt which doesn't move is going to hinder that. Then the legs can rotate for a bit of movement there on the angles when you're posing. So the only thing you don't get is, unfortunately being HG, is that little standard backpack which would go under the normal backpack for that final pose in the anime. Here he is up on the action base, laying back, I guess in the air. It's like kind of like fortress mode. You've got the all 4 shields on out to the front, cruising the Thunderbolt sector, looking for some Zeon soldiers to take out. I can't believe this isn't a newer kit. It is a few years old now, so it's not the newest, but just building it, it felt really solid and had a good amount of posing to it. And not everything was falling off, surprisingly. You can shake this thing and it stays together. So here it is, posing with the Season 2 Gundam, the Atlas, which I reviewed earlier. It's light and dark between these guys, with proportions and colouring. One is darker, one is lighter, one is bulky, one is thinner, obviously with the back style skis though that it's got. They've both got gimmicks and weapons, and it's a great set to have, so I highly recommend picking up both of these. Now there's obviously 2 different versions of each kit, an anime and a manga for the full armor, and there's a Bandit Flower movie version versus the OVA version of the Atlas. Some slight differences in colouring for one and weapons for the other. So here I am using the action base 4, you can get him up. I found this, if you want to have him, instead of just being upright, in a more angled back or front pose, definitely use your own action base, because that other base just falls over, it isn't solid enough. But you can see how well the joints are supporting the full weight of the plastic, and how much detail you've got into this kit when we zoom in a little. So if you want to hold a beam saber, all you've got to do is remove the grey trigger holding part with the hand, attach the weapon, you can do it with either the beam cannons or the missile pod, straight onto the forearm, and then use the standard holding hand to hold a beam saber. So you can just see how fun it is to pose this kit. You've got so many options, so many accessories. And that's it, guys. After all that's said and done, I love this kit. It was fun to build, great to play with, and definitely a buy now type of HG kit. It is a little pricier than a standard HG. Here in Australia, this is around the $55 mark or so, but that is just because, there's so much plastic in it. All right, thanks for joining us. Subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and watch out for the upcoming Top RG video that I'm doing. All right, guys, see you later.